Thanks so much, Shumis.
Good to see you yet, Mr. van der Westhuizen.
Thank you for your assistance.
Okay, Shumis, are we ready to start?
We are a quorum, we can start.
Okay, thank you very much. And good morning. I'm just going to try to mute this. It's just disturbing me. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you for honoring me with your presence today on the meeting for the Standing Committee of Human Settlements. And I welcome the Department of Human Settlements and also welcoming the members. Just for record purpose, I'm going to ask that the members introduce themselves. And I'll start with myself, Matlodi Maseko, the Standing Committee Chair for Human Settlements. And I will hand over to the members. After the members, I know Mr. Francois Divet is the one leading the team from the department, and we will take it from there. And over to you, members.
Good morning, Chairperson. Andrikus van der Westhuizen, a member of the committee.
Mulweni, Chairperson and everybody. I'm Derek America, member of the committee.
Mr. Divet, if you can introduce your team.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. I'm Francois de Wet. I'm the CFO for the department. I was asked to stand in for the acting HOD, Ms. Maya Stella, who has joined the Minister for the Cabinet Bosberaad. It's a two-day session. It's a very important one. It's not that the committee is not important, but it needs undivided attention on that one. And of course, you've received the apology of the Minister. I'm joined by Mr. Brian Denton. He's the Acting Chief Director for Urban Settlement Implementation. I'm also joined by Pamela Masiko Kambala. She's the Acting Chief Director for Planning. And Mr. Nathan Adrianze, our Director for Communications. And then also Shanaz Adams for the Strategic Support component. Benjamin Corsi will join us just now. He's just busy with wrapping up something with the auditors. And yeah, we are ready for you. And like I indicated, it's a lot of actors that we've got. So I will not put on the cameras. It might be a bioscope or what.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Divet. And yes, just to table the apology, I did receive the apology from Minister Simmers, like the CFO indicated, and also from the acting head of the department, Memai Sela. Member Brett Heron also tabled his apology that he won't be joining us for today. So thank you very much. And I'm not going to waste any time. Let's continue with the agenda for today. I'm going to hand over to you, Dr. Francois.
Thank you, Chairperson. Shumis will flight the presentation from your side. Chairperson, I had to add 2 more slides, but we will share that with you. It is with Shumis. So my apologies for that. It was just the wrong version that I sent through yesterday afternoon.
No, that is in order, sir. You can go on.
Jameez? Okay, Jameez?
Are you able to see the slide?
Not yet, Jameez.
Okay, let me just give me a second. If Clarence can maybe assist me quickly because I've tried now to load it. Clarence? Or someone from IT?
Clarence, can you hear us? Who is with Clarence today?
I don't know why it's not showing.
Clarence?
Let me just try and call Clarence quickly.
Lyk my hulle sê hulle moet dink dit is baie van hulle kant af. Net van my kant af dit probeer. Chairperson, can we try and flight it from our side?
Will be appreciated.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay. Dan wat ek net gou so die dinges doen, slideshows mos daai dingetjie. Dis sy.
Thank you.
Chairperson. That's it. Thank you, Office. Chairperson, just from our side, we appreciate the opportunity to come to the Standing Committee on Human Settlements to present the Asset Finance Reserve for Human Settlements. That was one of the priorities that was identified to assist us in doing more things with less money. And just the Standing Committee on Human Settlements will be closely involved there because this is not a slush fund. It goes through all the governance processes that is there. That includes oversight and approval by or recommendation by the Standing Committee to Parliament to approve the expenditure out of that fund. So it is not something that is on the side. It has all the governance arrangement, and the approval authority is still with the Provincial Parliament on recommendation of this committee. We will talk about the asset reserve, and then there was also a request, how do we assist our municipalities to identify land, and then also how do we assist municipalities with job creation. Chairperson, over the past couple of years, every time in the adjustments budget, there was also always an amount of money that was then allocated as excess revenue through the parliamentary processes. We've got a revenue budget, and all the money that we generate more than that will then go to excess revenue, and then we have transferred that money, and we utilize that funds for a number of projects. We asked the Provincial Treasury in November last year that we want a separate fund to allocate those funding sources to, so that we can ensure that the money is available for human settlements. That is also in line with the Housing Code, which stipulates that all money funds generated through the selling of flats, units, sites, and so forth must go to a separate account to be utilized for human settlements. So that is, we submitted our application in November 2020, and we got our approval on the 14th of April 2021 after a long process. But we had to go through that whole process because all kinds of governance arrangements, all that stuff had to be adhered to. So Treasury approved that on the 14th of April 2021. So the funding sources for that fund will be all the revenue generated from the grant and assets to be utilized as seed funding for the fund. We talk about there's some land and buildings of the ex-Western Cape Housing Development Fund that goes into that fund, that the selling of that, the selling of FLIS units and sites, the selling of business or government sites in the RDP projects. Then sometimes we pay money over to municipalities and they return some of the subsidies because of various reasons. And then that money will, of course, is capital and goes back to that fund. And then in the past, the city of Cape Town, there's a misalignment between the two budgets, and our projects ran a little bit ahead of the city of Cape Town's USDG budget, and then they refunded us afterwards. And then because it was already expended and accounted for in our books, it then came back as revenue. The rental income of the rental stock that we still owe, and then all interest accrued to investments. That's another one that we try to get from the provincial treasury, because there's a lot of money that's lying there in trust, and that's been paid upfront to the department, specifically from the city of Cape Town side on the USDG, in order for us to implement our projects. So we want the cash on that investment as well. We will utilize this fund for bulk infrastructure in non-metro municipalities. The city of Cape Town's got the USDG as a separate fund. The smaller municipalities, they only got the MIC and the RBIC, and we want to assist them, as we've done in the past already many times. We want to assist them, but it will not be free money. It will be counter-funded by the municipality. So for each and every rand that we will allocate, the municipalities must also contribute 1 rand. It happened in the past, specifically with the RBIC, that the municipalities get an approval for RBIC. It's the Rural Bulk Infrastructure Grant, but one of the conditions is that they must counter-fund that grant, and they don't have that money. So, and then they lose out on that. So we use that fund to leverage that sources as well. Then some municipalities, they've got beautiful pieces of land. If you look at the land there in the garden route, it's beautiful. It's nice and by the sea. It's like just lying there. The municipalities don't have the funding to capture the strategic value of it, get development rights and so on. And sometimes the land is just lying there, and if there's development rights on it, they will get more money for that. And yeah, and then can then be developed and sold to the open market, and that will help to cross-subsidize affordable housing. That will also bring a sustainable revenue source to the municipality, as those sites that's lying there currently and being sold, it will then generate revenue for the municipalities through rates and service charges. Then there's also other human settlement related projects as approved by the MEC and are covered under the Housing Code. And that, for instance, one of the applications that we received, a beautiful application there from Bergrivier, is where they want to build a little units for old people that can rent it and then from the municipality. So yeah, we will try and see if that ticks all the boxes and that we can assist them with that. And of course, job creation initiatives, including the development of business and industrial hubs. Very important for us as part of the recovery.
I'm sorry, CFO. I don't know who's doing that. Members?
Okay.
Please try to make sure that your mic is on mute. I mean, it's our language that mute. If you're not talking, just mute. It really works wonders as it's just the common sense so that we can hear the presenter. Thank you very much. Over to you, CFO.
Chairperson, thank you. The Asset Finance Reserve Fund, we will come to this committee at the end of in November when we do the adjustments budget, and we identified 62.439 million rand. That we applied to the Provincial Treasury for allocation to this fund. That is the old excess revenue part, and then there's a little 15 million rand that's lying in the Western Cape Housing Development Fund for the past 15 years. So we bring that into this fund. And then after we got the approval from the Provincial Treasury, we developed a project initiation document that is based on the normal project. So we don't use this fund to initiate projects that is not part of the municipality's plans. So we developed the project initiation document, and then we shared it with the municipalities, and we asked them in the beginning of May to submit business plans and applications for funds from this fund. And the due date was the 31st of July 2021. Various municipalities responded, and currently those applications are being evaluated, and it will go through to the adjustments budget where it will have the necessary oversight. Currently this funding, the only funding that becomes available is the excess own revenue. This is the revenue, sorry for the typo, collected more than the revenue budget of the department. Currently 70 million rand. We actually want that 70 million to be excluded and be allocated to this fund as well, because the funding, the revenue that we have in our budget is all deriving from these projects, and it's in contravention of the Housing Code that stipulates that all revenue derived from investment in human settlement projects must be allocated to a special fund created for human settlements projects. So we are in discussions with the Provincial Treasury, and to allocate more provincial equitable share funding to make up the shortfall of 68 million. The other 2 million is not linked to infrastructure returns. It's mostly rental income. So we do appreciate that the province are struggling, and the whole of the country are struggling with budget cuts, but we are very adamant that this money that we collect must be plowed back into human settlements for the people, because it is money that derived from the grant. These are the application municipalities that responded to us. Drakensberg, if you bear with me, I just want to go through the projects with you. In Simondium, there's a piece of land that we bought there, beautiful piece of land. They need a little bit of park infrastructure there to develop that project. We will assess that. Bergrivier in Pakketberg, there's a self-cutting outlets, little CIU, community residential units that they want to build on their own land. These, when people cannot stay there anymore or can't look after themselves anymore and must go to an old age, they will go out, and somebody else will then come. It will not be ownership, this one. We are assessing that specific one. I think it's a beautiful project. Swartland has asked for park infrastructure money. They're busy with big projects there as part of a bigger project that the WIP, there's 560 plus units that they want to do there, but they need funding to unlock the bulks so that they can do that. They also want to do social housing there, and they also submitted one for Kalbaskraal Plus. But all these projects will be assessed by the team through the normal processes. In Swellendam, there's a big project in Railton that's being implemented, is going to start implementing now, and there's also a little bit of bulk necessary there. Then in the Garden Route District Municipality in George CBD, just behind that municipal offices are a piece of land that belongs to the district municipality, and that they want to develop into FLIS units. We are very excited of that. It might be the first inner city project in George as well. It will be the second one. There's already one busy there. So we are very excited to evaluate those ones, and we will come to this committee with our final allocations for approval in the adjustments budget in November. How do we assist municipalities with identifying land? There's a whole process that we follow through. Some of the members that might have went with Minister on his not roadshows, outreach programs, he would have seen this one. There's the timeline from November to May. They develop credible housing plans, and they call it also project pipelines. The municipal council signs off on these housing plans, and the project pipeline is part of the IDP in June. June to July, Department of Human Settlements comments on the credibility of the human settlement plans, and the project pipelines are being signed off. Then we start with our business planning process, compiles a draft business plan for submission to the National Department of Human Settlements. That's in September. This year it's a little bit earlier. We're submitting our first business plan to them by the end of August. The municipality accepts and signs off on the business plan. It's October to November. We have constant discussions with municipalities. We don't work in isolation, but we work with the municipality together with them. And then the final business plans are submitted to the National Department of Human Settlements and National Treasury in February for final approval. So the land that they need is then part of this process, whereby we evaluate it as well. Is it suitable, and so on and so on. And then, if approved, the project will then start. So just in summary, all housing projects, including IRDP, originate from the municipalities' housing pipelines, which are products of the human settlement plans. The projects that we fund from the fund is all part of these pipelines, and this is just to unblock certain issues that's identified why projects cannot be implemented, and also to augment the funding that is from the grant. All these plans are aligned with the municipality spatial development frameworks, and the department ensures that the individual IRDP projects are aligned to the MSDF and support the development of mixed and integrated human settlements. So there's something of else. Unfortunately, we cannot do that in small little projects, but in the bigger projects, in the priority development areas, everything is mixed, and to ensure integration. And if you just look at the one project that we're going to do in George Metro Grounds, there's, for instance, 200 PNGs, 200 FLIS, and 200 open market. So all people from all over the society can come in there. Of course, there will be different prices. The open market sites will be at market value, while the other sites will be at cost price. Yeah, so we just reiterate that this funding it's not a slush fund, but it will be, approvals will be done as part of the standard operating procedures, and it ensures alignment of the MSDF relevant to that municipality, and to ensure also that mixed and integrated human settlements are developed, including provision of business sites or other industrial hubs that can contribute to job creation. How we assist municipalities with job creation. Chairperson, in the building industry, the norm is that there's 3 jobs created for every 1 million rand spent on buildings, the top structures, and 1 job for every 1 million spent on civil services. And then also the local content is a condition of all tenders. And what it means with local content, there's a certain percentage of the work that needs to be done with local labor or local contractors. That's part of the condition, so that the money is creating that we spend in a municipality is also contributing to the economy of that little town or bigger town. Current status through the HSDG and then the ISUP, we maintain 5,400 jobs per year, and with the funding that we get from the USDG, about 300. And then we provide training to specifically young people at this moment in time. And the EPWP, the department keeps a database of individuals employed on infrastructure projects, and we also report to this committee on those jobs. And then all funding agreements that we conclude with municipalities has an EPWP condition that all projects must be implemented in terms of the EPWP. Then just where we the training opportunities that we do believe in giving a person a fishing rod so he can catch his own fish. So people that is empowered, they can also then do better. So but we need nice big projects where we can arrange with the contractors to take these people on to assist them in the practical side. Garden route in Mossa Bay, Mountain View, there's 35 for bricklaying, painting and plastering. Transhex in Worcester, there's also bricklaying, plastering, painting, carpentry. Then the Conradi development here by Thornton or Pinelands. Also, there's also people. So in total, we've got 180 of the youth that we want to assist there. And then what we also brought in, there's also people that lost their jobs and so on in part of COVID, over 35. So we have 70 people that we want to assist there with skills training. And the total budget that we've allocated is 3.996 million rand. We work closely with the NHBRC and the CIDB as well to ensure that the people and the standards are adhered to. And I say thank you to the committee for listening to us. What I didn't say is that we try also to create little business hubs or industrial hubs in those projects. And we are currently in discussions with George to release those business sites on Cypherfontein to the general to the business and the people. And then at Transx, we are also in discussions with the municipality. Remember, the land belongs to the municipality, so we need to go through those councils to get those sites also be advertised. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, CFO. Members, there's the presentation from the department and from Mr. Divet. I don't know if there's anyone that wants to add something from the department. 1, 2, 3. That means there's no one who wants to add to that. Members, I'm going to open up for the questions. And you can raise your hand for me to recognize. Member America will be the first. And after Member Andrikas. That's the only 2 hands that I'm seeing. Over to you, members.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Devet. I think that it is a recognized fact that for housing to develop in municipalities, there need to be adequate infrastructure, and we are acutely aware of the deficit of infrastructure development and maintenance in rural municipalities in particular. And I welcome the presentation to give us some sort of context in terms of what the department is doing, and we can never have enough money because infrastructure development is quite costly. So my question is that the Department of Local Government has a similar project where it partners with the French government in terms of sourcing donor funding for municipality infrastructure development, and certain secondary municipalities such as those larger municipalities in Drakenstein and Gardenroute has been identified as pilot projects where donor funding is sought to assist those municipalities to unlock future sort of infrastructure development for service delivery. So I don't know if you're aware of it, and possibly to what extent the department is liaising with the Department of Local Government to see to what extent there can be some sort of cooperation or integration of initiatives. I'm not sure the correct word that I'm using there, but nonetheless, all hands on deck is certainly welcome. And secondly, you have identified those municipalities who have submitted application. Is certainly not a given that those municipalities would be sort of allocated the funding that they required. What criteria would you be applying to make the finite source that you have available to the successful applications? And lastly, Chair, is there a possibility that we could involve a private sector sort of partners to partner with successful projects or that is ready for development to come on board? Because if the municipal infrastructure is well developed, then certainly it is not only the resident that will benefit from it, but all end users within that municipality, which includes the private sector. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Member van der Westhuizen, over to you, sir.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. And can I just say, seeing and hearing about the wonderful projects makes me quite excited, and I'm so glad to have heard from Mr. De Wet himself that he described some of these projects as beautiful projects. It really is heartwarming to me to know that so many of these projects are, catering for really local needs, and that we're not only concentrating on one kind of development, but that we also provide for the various needs, because housing needs do vary from those that want to buy, from those that can buy, from those that cannot buy, and from those that know that they need to step down from a bigger home to a facility where they will feel secure, where they will be with others of their age group, and where hopefully non-governmental organizations or non-profit organizations will be coming in and supporting those elderly people. It's really great, and thank you for each and everyone for making these things possible. My questions are limited to the two aspects. The first is the reserve fund, and the second one is the issue of job creation and skills and so on. My first one is, how will the Asset Finance Reserve Fund appear in the financial statements of the department? Quite often, in terms of accountancy terms, as Mr. De Wet will be able to explain to us, a fund must sometimes be covered by investments on the other side. So if you could just explain a little bit what we will have to look out for if we want to say, there is the Finance Reserve Fund for human settlements. And secondly, where did the income that is now going to be deposited into this fund, where did this income go to in the past? What has been the great step forward in this regard? Secondly, how will we know that the money or the income of this fund is really spent and that it's not allowed to accrue? Are there certain rules, or is it just a matter that the department will be watching the balance of this fund, and that we, from our oversight function, must also ensure that we don't just have money that accrue, as we've seen with many other funds in government, such as the Unemployment Insurance Fund, etc., which was allowed to run up into hundreds of billions of rands through the years, money which I do know is needed out there in the economy. And then in terms of the local job creation, if I could just ask, there's always this trade-off of bringing in new people into the construction industry, but also making sure that the building work is of a high quality. And I think we have witnessed, unfortunately, that with some of the projects, and they've been quite well known and reported on, and in some cases, the reports indicated that certain houses almost had to be rebuilt due to poor quality. So my question is, first, what, in terms of the contracts, what do we expect in terms of local job creation, as Mr. De Wet referred to that, but then to ensure that quality and productivity is not forfeited in the process? And what then if one should find that the local labor, is not delivering on the necessary quality, the local labor is not willing to work under the circumstances that some of these contracts determine? And then the next one is, in terms of training, are there any requirements that this training must be accredited training, that people will eventually receive formal qualifications? And I do know that the construction CETA has also struggled for many, many years to issue certificates to learners, people that have undergone the training in terms of the qualifications framework. So do we also ensure that that training eventually leads not only to the necessary skills, but that those learners are eventually served with the certificates for the training that they've undergone? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any hand. I'm going to hand over to the department. Mr. Divet.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the questions. Very, very relevant. And thank you also for the comments and seeing that we want to do something different that is not always necessary possible for us in terms of the housing code. It's really appreciated. I think, Member America, your comments on the infrastructure development is noted. We work closely with the Department of Local Government, and we work actually with a MIC unit, and that is also dealing with that partnership with the French government and the donor funding. And as indicated, sometimes donors also want a contribution from our own government as well, and that is where we can assist. Gardenwood and Drakenstein is both to growing towns, priority towns, and we will definitely discuss this with the MIC unit. I'm not sure if we've got that partnership agreement with those governments, French government, and how we link to it, but we will definitely take it up with the MIC unit. The criteria must has been set for it. It must speak to job creation, it must speak to well-being, must speak to safety. That's the government's priorities. And then, of course, will it contribute to the social, the affordable housing market? Will it give us a return? Because we want to utilize these funds over and over and over again. For instance, if we fund a FLIS project, we want, and the house costs 350,000 rand, we will have to sell at 370,000 rand because there is increases every year, and then the money will come back to the fund to be utilized again. So we will be less dependent on the grant. So it's like a revolving fund. Private sector and the partnerships with the private sector in developing infrastructure, we are always open to that, and it's taking into account the government rules and regulations, how we partner with those private sector partnerships. If you just look at how we can, for instance, with bulk infrastructure, sewer plants and so on. I'm a strong believer that, and of course electricity as well, there's more than one player in the market, and sometimes it's better to rent or to buy the service from a private supplier than doing it yourself, specifically if you don't have the capacity. So we will definitely support those type of initiatives as well. Then a member for the Westhuizen, thank you for supporting us on this other little project, and that's something new that we don't have. So we will assess it, and if it ticks all the boxes, it will come to this committee for recommendation. How will it appear in the AFS? Right, I think the balance in the fund will appear as a balance sheet item, and then the expenditure will be in the income statement. That is one of the items that disclosure notes that we will still have to finalize with the Treasury, but it will definitely be disclosed separately. How was the revenue previously allocated? Right, okay. Say we had 100 million rand of revenue that we had for the year. 70 million or whatever was part of the revenue budget. That was then augmenting the equitable share part and funding salaries and the operations of the department. And that's where we say we are wrong. That money is capital money. It should be reallocated to capital, and that is where we come. So from the 100 million rand, we only got 30 million rand then going back into infrastructure, and that is wrong. So we are taking this up with Provincial Treasury. Accrue or not, mens moet nie jou talente onder die maat immer sit nie. Money must work. It just loses its value, and we intend to allocate all the funds to the different projects every year. So right, okay, we just need to ensure that we have funding available for projects that goes over more than 1 year, but the cash flows will be taken into account. But the intention is not to build up a fund and show that we've got so much money. Money must work. The people needs the services. New people in the building industry, right? Okay, the NHBRC and the CIDB plays a big role there for us to ensure quality and productivity is being dealt with in terms of contracts. We still have a main contractor. The main contractor must deal with the local people. I can assure you that we've got very good subcontractors and local contractors as well. And then the training, yes, it is all accredited, and I forgot to indicate that the construction sector is one of our major partners in this. So we've got the 3 partners, the NHBRC, the CIDB, and the construction sector, who is actually also contributing to those stipends that's been given to those people. Yeah, and just on the other side, new people in the building industry. We found that with our tenders that on the functionality part, we're actually excluding new people. If you look at, we asked for proven experience in building RDP projects. Now, not all people has that experience, so we're excluding them, and so we've taken that out of our terms of references. And for future, and we're looking forward to see the new people coming in, and specifically also the youngsters that we've trained, and also the older people. Chairperson, I think that's all the questions. But if there's any more, and follow-up questions, I am here, and I also have colleagues here that can assist us.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I see Member Lily has joined us. Member Lily, welcome. Can you do me a favor and make sure all the time that your mic is on mute, because all the time your mic is flickering. I see the light, and then there's a lot of conversations happening around you. So that will really be appreciated. And I know everybody that is in the meeting will also appreciate that. Honorable members, is there any follow-up or clarity or another questions from you? Okay, I don't see any hand. I am going, just for clarity, before I ask my questions, CFO, I don't know if I missed it, but this revenue fund, are you saying that the fund is only going to come into existence, or is the money only going to be accessible with the adjustment budget? and or is just the adjustment just say that we directed money already and this is where it went? How are you going to report that if, or is it already in the budget? It's just that you haven't given it a name before. It's now that you are going to have the program that is specific to that. And if that is still going to happen, when do you think that you will consider those applications from the municipalities? I wonder if you, okay.
Thank you,
Over to
Chairperson.
you.
Just on the funding we've applied for the rollover, for the funding to be made available by the Provincial Treasury. That's a given. It will be allocated to us as part of the adjustments budget process. We've already, as indicated, we've got 64 million rand that is going into this fund. That is how it's going to be funded. So it lies separately within the Provincial Treasury. So it can only be utilized for human settlements. It cannot be accessed by any other department. Okay, so that's the Asset Finance Reserve for human settlements. Public Works has a similar fund, Asset Finance Reserve, whereby all the stuff that all the properties that they sell, all that money goes in there, and then it's been reallocated. But it's being appropriated in the adjustments budget. Okay, that's where the political oversight comes through. Just that the funding is available, it's lying separate. No other department have access to that money. It's only human settlements. Then the process currently we are evaluating now. We will put a report together that will go to the minister for his approval to bring it into the adjustments budget, and then it will come to the Standing Committee on Human Settlements for recommendations to the Provincial Parliament, and whereby it will then be approved or not approved, and then it will be gazetted, and the municipalities will have access to that money, of course, through a funding agreement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And before I ask my questions, because that was just for clarity, I just want to really say just salute the department for this fund, because as we do an oversight all the time, we can identify with what we have seen that there is a need for this fund within our municipalities. And I think, and I hope that the value that you see by implementing this fund, the municipalities also will embrace it to make sure that it spearheads all those projects that are still having the problems that this fund can try to assist in those municipalities. But then let me go through my questions. I want to find out, I mean, one of the money that you have in this fund is the income from the rentals. So I want to know, how do you balance, because if you have the rental, my understanding is that if you have the rental income, there's a certain percentage that you will use for sustaining your rental stock. So to what extent are you going to be able to divide sustaining in this fund to have the funds and also servicing your rental stock? And maybe if I can put it in a generic way of how are you going to sustain this moving forward? How are you going to sustain this fund? Keeping in mind that there are some of the monies that you have received, that you have taken back from your CT, and also the rental stock, maybe it might be you don't get enough, you have to service. Now, I'm asking myself that, is this going to be sustained? And if it gets sustained, where are you going to get the money if the demand becomes more than you anticipated? that control measure also, how are you going to go about? The other question it will be, you mentioned that you will be assisting municipalities to identify the land. I want to know on that one, what is the process? Where does the HDA come into play if that is happening? Is it going to play a role in that, or is only going to be between the department and the municipalities as you help them to identify the land? And when you identify the land, looking at the project, the cycle of the municipalities projects, where does the PID come in on the human settlement development process? And the other one, it will be, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. I think the last one, it will be the 5,000 on job creation and training opportunities. The 5,400 jobs maintained with the HSDG and the 300 via USDG. Or let me put it again on the generic side, saying that you mentioned also that there is the industrial sites in some of the projects that you are going to be implemented, or like on Transhex, I know that already you have identified. Now, who is going to manage on behalf of the municipality? Who's going to manage those projects? Who's going to manage revenue generation from the municipalities for those sites? And then do you have a policy in place in assisting the municipality to say how are they going to go about as you implement that? Because most of the time when you see the metro, it's a different story. But in the rural areas, the rental stocks, you see there is a bit of a lack of how they maintain their rental stocks. Now, if you are going to add also with the industrial sites, it's another story too that will be attached to that. And the capacity within the municipalities, do you believe that we have enough capacity for the municipalities to be able to handle that load of also going into the industrial space to manage and to maintain as required? I think that will be all for now, CFO. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just on the rental income. The rental income is only about 2 million a year. And the cost that we incurred, it's 20 million rand. Right, okay, that is part of the people that's in those rental stock are mostly people that also qualify for other financial assistance. For instance, they are most of them are getting grants from government and so on. So these rental units, it's not sustainable for us at all, and we are relooking at what to do with that rental stock. So it's currently it's been funded. The deficit's been funded from our equitable share part, but it is not a sustainable revenue source or project, because you need to get at least get your money back that you put in. So, but we have a social responsibility. It's the same with the municipalities. Their rental stock for the less privileged people. The rental is low because the people cannot afford more, and you budget for the shortfall. It's not part of the asset finance reserve that will be excluded. It will only be capital funding revenue that will go into the fund, and that is the asset finance reserve. So that part will still stay there in the normal revenue budget. The HTA's role, they've got no role to play in the municipalities for identification of land unless the municipality requests them to perform that function. I know that in the garden route, they were quite involved there by Naisna and Pito on the identification of certain pieces of land, and also they also own land as well within municipal districts. For instance, in Chatsworth by Malmesbury, they've got some land there. But the only role that they play currently is assisting us in the identification of land, the valuations of it, and the planning of it for our bigger projects. They are the program managers for the catalytic projects. They are a national institution, and we work with them. So they're mostly involved with the provincial land purchasing and acquiring of land. Remember, we cannot acquire land ourselves, so the HDA, it's their mandate to acquire and hold that land for us. A project initiation document is the PIT. It's right in the beginning, whereby the municipality submits a project that they want to implement. There's a whole lot of criteria that they need to, boxes that needs to be ticked, and that's been assessed. And then if it goes through the first gate, we will give them a few rands to do some initial planning work. If that planning work is then indicating that the project is viable, then they will get a second planning contribution, and that will do then more detailed studies on that. On the first one, we determined what is the infrastructure, bulk infrastructure needs, and so on. Is the land suitable, and so on and so on. So it's a whole long process, and that's why it takes about 3 years to start with the implementation of a project. The 5,400 jobs, not people it's only people that working on the sites. It's the whole industry. You've got your building suppliers. You've got your brick suppliers, hardware shops, plumbers, plumbing shops, etc. So that's the whole building sector that is that gets that number of jobs. In the municipalities do have a special operating account whereby that revenue will go into. The capacity, they will not manage those industrial sites. It must be transferred and sold to the private sector, and then that the private sector will then deal with it as owners of that pieces of land. So their own rental stocks in the municipalities, we do know that it is a challenge in municipalities, although our affordable housing unit here provides support to the municipalities. It is very, I cannot say, it is not being optimally utilized, those rental stocks. The issue is, the people that your tenants, you cannot go and ask them to pay market-related rental, because then we've got the social responsibility. So that's why there's different products, and the social housing, for instance, that the SRA is doing with the social housing institutions is for the higher market. These rental stocks that the municipalities currently have is mostly for the poorest of the poor, and it's not sustainable. You have to budget for the deficits there. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, HOD. Maybe if I can do the follow-up, we went for an oversight in the social housing, and one of the issues that were highlighted by the management company was when we were asking a question of the list for the beneficiaries for the rental stock. and how do they align the list that they develop themselves to the one from the municipalities. It was that they don't get joy in the list from the municipalities. Let me not say municipality, let me say per se the city, because they were talking about the city, so that I don't generalize. And they say that, you know, there was a time that they waited for a very long time until they had to go and really get the beneficiaries to vet them so that those flats can be occupied. And it's one of the things that we have identified, that in the whole process, in the whole life cycle of the projects, one of the serious problems that we identify is the database itself, how it's been maintained, how do we make sure that it reflects the true story of what is the demand in the municipalities. And as we introduce some of the new things from the department, and I'm saying we because Human Settlements, we are a family, how do we go about to make sure that we, from the municipalities, we really get the true story of what is the demand and what type of projects are needed at the municipalities? Because we can introduce the funds, we can introduce the policies, but it falls back on the data collection for the beneficiaries. Do we have the true story of, it's Matlodi who's a nurse on the database, it's Derek who is a gardener, or it's whoever, or Smartha that is an ambulance worker on the database? And do we have that information within the municipalities, or we put those names as if it's for free housing, all of them? So it's one of the questions that I want to find out now, or maybe the department can go back and say, how are we going to go about? Yes, I know you introduced the system of the online, but Auntie Sarah cannot do online, and you didn't have a huge buy-in from the municipalities to take that responsibility. Now, how are we going to deal with that, to really understand, to really get the real story of what are the demands and what type of the programs have to be implemented in different municipalities? Thank you. I see a hand of Mr. Denton.
Sorry, morning, Madam Chair, morning, honourable members and colleagues. Yeah, just to respond quick, I think with the Western Cape Housing Demand Database, we have made great strides, but yes, you are correct. There is still a lot of work to be done. We are currently, our department is having a bit difficulty, specifically with the city of Cape Town. And because databases, it does show there is a difference between ownership and rental stock. We mustn't forget the fact that persons who own houses previously, or even received a subsidy previously, who find themselves now homeless, they may still put their name onto a waiting list to qualify for rental units. But Madam Chair, the point I want to make, even in the municipalities that have the most, I would say, reliable database or data on our Western Cape Housing Demand Database, I think it's a lot to do with also educating the citizenry, because many of the people do not update their details. That's the problem with the information on the housing demand database. Obviously, when it's put onto the database, it's credible, but it's only as credible as much as people themselves get to update that. Now we've made it easier by launching the app, and we are still busy with training in the outer areas. The whole COVID process has put a bit of a spanner in the works, but we are dealing on that. But a point I just want to make, it's not solely with the municipalities. The citizenry also need to take responsibility for updating the information, because even if we identify, as you said, the ambulance driver, etc., who earns in excess of 3.5, but who could qualify for FLISP, or rental stock in these inverted commas upmarket rental opportunities, if they do not update their telephone contact, their contact details or addresses, then the municipality or allocation authority is not able to get hold of them. So yes, I think we also, as much as we're updating the whole process of the demand database, making it easy for the citizenry, it's also a matter of some consumer education that we need to also step up on. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Denton. I think it can be quite a long discussion about the beneficiary, because if I have to respond, I will say that much as the citizenry have got to update, we create the policies, we create the how-to, and we supply the electricity, the water, and those people that come to apply, they give the address of where they are now. They give the contacts. Unless when they put their names, they don't say, where am I staying now, that we cannot access them. But it's another discussion for another day of saying that, how can we go about, why don't we align our systems with the social developments or the banks, or, I mean, we are in the fourth industrial revolution that somehow we have to try and champion our database to get the right information about our database for the housing, because much as we come up with the funds, the budget is shrinking, your database for beneficiaries increasing, and to make sure that we supply free housing to the deserving beneficiaries, we have to champion that, and also champion the private partnerships and champion other projects of the fleets and anything that we can be able to do that. The last one, members, is there any clarity, any question from you? Member America?
I'm good, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Member van der Westhuizen?
Same this side, thank you.
Member Lily? Member Lily? Okay. I just saw Honorable Lily, but there's no one behind Honorable Lily. I think that's all for now. I don't see any hands being raised. And CFO, thank you very much. And the department, we really appreciate you and we salute you all the time with your sterling work that you are doing within our communities. And we can never salute you enough, because like I say all the time, you have the portfolio that is unappreciative. There's always a complaint that you are not doing enough. But as long as we make that one step at a time, it makes a difference within our communities, and we appreciate you all the time. So thank you very much, CFO and the team, for being with us. I don't know if there's any last word that you want to say before we release you.
Now, Chairperson, thank you. And thank you for the members for the questions. It keeps us on our toes. And we're looking forward to coming to this committee in November with our adjustments budget and presenting these projects. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. If you want to stay with us, you can stay with us. But if you have some other things to do, you can go, as members have to take the resolutions now to do our administration. Thank you very much, and be safe out there and have a blessed day.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. A quick one. The resolutions. There's no resolutions. Member America?
Chair, they in the adjustment budget, they will bring us a final outcome of the applications that were made, and I think that we should wait for that. Yeah.
Okay, member Andrikas?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, can I propose that we track the decisions on that provision of housing for the aged in Bergrivier? I think this is a very interesting concept. And as Mr. De Wet said, obviously it must still tick all the boxes. But I sincerely do hope that it does, and that we might be able to, even in future, visit such development. I do know that from the concept stage to the final product, it can take even years. But perhaps if we could just track that and hear whether that development is ticking, all the boxes, then I think it might set a precedent also for other municipalities to pursue. And I'm really interested, and I think it would be great if we as a committee could, in 6 months' time, just ask, what has been the final decision? Can this project go ahead? What did you have to adjust to make this project perhaps tick all the boxes, etc.? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I agree with you. I think from my side, one thing that I would wish that we should get is the project initiation document that they talk about, so that it can make sense to us that how are they going to go about, because if you listen to what they're saying from the project initiation document and with this asset finance reserve, that means that when they identify a piece of land, the HDA also have to come in place, and all those processes, the project readiness also has to happen. So we, just to keep a track, is for us to get those documents that are going to also help us to see how are they going to go about in making this a really wonderful project. Member America, I see your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I agree with the sentiments expressed by herself and Honourable van der Westhuizen, but I think that we should adopt a similar posture with regard to all the other projects that they will approve also. Thank you. Okay.
I didn't get that, Chair.
America? Yeah, thank you. What I'm saying, Chair, I agree with the sentiments expressed by herself and Honourable van der Westhuizen, but that we should also extend it to the other projects that they approve to support with the infrastructure development. Thank you.
Okay. No, we'll do that. Shumez, did you capture that?
Yes, Chairperson.
Okay. Thank you very much, members. With that being said, let's continue with where's my agenda? Shumez, what next? The approval of the
Is the consideration and adoption of the draft committee minutes. So we have for June, the minutes and the report, 2 June and 18 June report, and then there's a quarterly report we're looking at. Let's just see if I can request Clarence to assist me to upload it quickly.
Yeah, if you can flag it so that we can do that.
It's been minimized, Clarence, so it's already sitting.
Sorry. Where is it, Shumez? Member America?
No, thank you, Chair. Waiting on the minutes. I don't have a problem with the minutes itself, but there's been quite a number of resolutions taken at that particular meeting we've had with the Langeberg municipality. And I don't know to what extent those sort of reports and the resolutions that we have adopted there had been sort of complied with. To my knowledge, none of it as yet. I don't know, I may be ignorant, but I don't know what we're going to do about that. Thank you, Chair. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was going to wait for us to finish here so that we can have the discussion about the resolutions, because we've got the resolutions that we did starting from the veto that we have to revisit everything. And I've been having a conversation with Shumis in the background that we have to sit down and look at the resolutions of all the things that we said we are going to do the follow-up, because most of the resolution also takes the follow-up to see what is happening and what is it that the department did with the issues that we raised. So if you can bear with me, you will get a document, I think, before the end of the week that will be compiled all the resolutions that are outstanding. We will divide them into those that we had, there needed to be an action by the department, and those that we had to go back to revisit to check the progress till we made a resolution of where is the municipality or where is the project, or how was the problem remedied after we have identified and we have made the suggestion that the department have to communicate with that municipality. Will that be okay with you?
It's fine with me, Chair. I'm glad you touched on the July visit in Bitter also, which we have also missed, of course. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, member. And as for the minutes, already you proposed, member van der Westhuizen, anything that you want us to fix on our minutes?
Nothing from my side, Chair.
Okay, I'll take that as a seconder to the minutes for adoption.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Shamis, let's continue. Shamis, are you with me?
Yes, Jay, I'm just uploading the next set of minutes quickly.
Okay. Johan Vermeulen, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, just wanted the members to hear your voice.
Thank you.
Are you winning, Shamis?
It's uploaded, Jay. I take it you can't see it.
Okay, is there now? Okay, go to at the beginning, ma'am. Okay, this is the meeting of the 18th of June. And then any proposal in a seconder or any amendment, any correction, members? Member America?
Chair, in the light of your previous comment, I propose that we adopt the minutes.
Thank you very much.
Support.
Thank you very much, Member van der Westhuizen.
Let me just load the report quickly. I think it's this one. It's the draft oversight report to Plettenberg Bay and Neisner.
Okay.
And I
Can
continue
you
to
move?
scroll.
Yes, ma'am. You can scroll. Members. Can I get a proposal or amendment or correction or clarity? Member America?
Chair, I propose that we adopt the report.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you very much, Member van der Westhuizen. Shamis?
And then one more thing, it is the quarterly report. Let me just open that quickly. So it's from April to June.
Members, you
Continue
had
to
a look
scroll.
at it? Any amendment or clarity? Member America?
Chair, all is in order with me, Chair. I propose that we adopt the report.
Okay, did you check that everything is your attendance is?
Yes, I have, Chair. Thank you.
Okay. And Member Andrikas, did you check?
Yes, and I support the adoption.
Okay. Thank you very much. And
that concludes.
honorable members, that was the last one, Shumise.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, there's something that I wanted. The first one already addressed that Member America talked about of the resolutions that we have to attend to. The other one is the issue of when you look on our record, there is a lot of, I don't know if it's the right platform. I'll be, my apologies if it's not the right platform. You look at our document there, you see one of our members is only apologies in all the meetings. And today again, I tried to talk to Member Lily. It says he's on hold, but he's not responding. And I don't know if he's in the meeting or he's not in the meeting. So there's a little bit of a concern to that as the committee, how do we go about, because Member Lily is our permanent member in this committee. And we have responsibility as a team in the standing committee. I don't have an opinion of how do we go about. I don't know how can we go about, but I wanted us to zoom on that it's a little bit concerned from me as a chairperson.
Noted.
With that, yes, I just wanted you members to know that. But with that being said, I appreciate you for being in the meeting, honorable members. I appreciate our support staff that are very sterling all the time, and we are because they are. So we really salute them also and say thank you very much. Clarence, you appreciated. Johan, Shamis, you are always our knight in shining armor in this committee. So with that being said, be safe out there. And the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, everybody. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, members.
Okay.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a good day.
Shamis, offline me.
Yes.
And you.
Okay, I'll offline you. Okay, bye.